I'm really not allowed a day off nowadays, huh? Google's announcements at I/O were crazy this year. From a deep thinking Gemini model to AI glasses to a new $250 a month subscription, they had a lot to show off. There's also a new diffusion model, a new tool for porting old code bases to new packages and versions. Oh, also, video model and AI glasses. Yes, Android XR finally is starting to happen, and there are now AI glasses that they're going to hopefully put out soon, but those seem to be pretty under lock. There's a lot to talk about here, especially for us developers who like playing with these things, and I'm super excited to get in depth with it. But if I'm going to afford this $250 a month subscription, yes, I did actually buy it for this. Someone's going to have to cover the bill. So a quick word from today's sponsor before we dive in. I've spent a little too much time hopping between different cloud providers, and what I've learned is that there are some things certain ones are great at and some things others aren't. And as much as I love the JavaScript hosts that we have available today, the best DX is not really available for people who are using other languages. Well, it wasn't until Savala started. Savala is part of Kinsta, which is a WordPress hosting company. But in order to host WordPress, you have to be able to do basically everything from databases to CDNs to servers. And they decided to take all of that and give it to you as a product. And it's so good. They're built on top of Google Cloud and Cloudflare, which are really good providers minus the integration step. As someone who's spent a lot of time in both of those dashboards recently, Savala could very quickly have solved all the problems that I have been fighting, and I wish I used them for more things. And once you see the dashboard, it really starts to click. They deploy the servers for you. They deploy the DDoS protection with Cloudflare in front for you. You can turn on CDN with literally a settings button. Just hit the switch and it's good. Do you know how annoying it is to put a CDN in front of your stuff as like a Rails dev? I talked about these guys a bunch, but there are some recent improvements I want to highlight. They added all of these super handy features for the server side. I can one-click create a worker job or cron. So if I want to automatically run something every couple times a day, I can just put a cron expression, tell it what command to run, and it will just run that on a server running the same code as the rest of this code base. Do you know how useful that is and how annoying it is to do elsewhere? It just spins up a box for us to run the cron job. And obviously the automatic deploys, preview environments, and all the fancy features we expect as JS devs are here as well. So you can go push a pull request up and then one click have a preview experience in order to see how those changes affect production. If you're using something other than JavaScript or you just want to go back to normal servers, you should check these guys out. Thank you to Savala for sponsoring today's video. Check them out today at soydev.link/Savala. So excited to show you guys the stuff I've been playing with in order to figure out what's going on here. I went and generated a bunch of videos. Don't look at that. We have a lot to go through. First and foremost, let's talk about the model drops and changes for the Gemini family. As I mentioned before, they're adding Deep Think to the Gemini 2.5 ecosystem. I'm sure it's just part of Pro, but with more tool calls and whatnot. But I can't know for sure because they're not actually releasing it yet. It scored absurdly well compared to other models, even compared to O3, which is nuts. The USIMO is a pretty good test, but the code scores are where it seems to really shine, beating out pretty much everything else thus far. Kind of nuts, especially because 2.5 Pro has quickly become the thing people prefer to use over almost all of the other models. So if we can get the speed of 2.5 Pro combined with the like deep thought of O3 or O4 Mini, this is going to be killer. I'm very excited to see how it feels to use this model, but also I don't know how fast it's going to perform just yet. They were pretty sparing on the info that they shared here. But as specified before, we can't use it yet because they're going to take more time to make sure it's safe. They called out specifically that they want to conduct more frontier safety evaluations first and foremost. That said, they did improve 2.5 Flash, which is good to see because it's fine. Especially with thinking off, it's not particularly great compared to 2.0 Flash. Like it does slightly better, but it also costs like 50 to 100% more. So it wasn't great. And when you turned on reasoning, it became so expensive that it was more comparable to something like O4 Mini because the output price is very close. So good to see them taking this seriously. It's also good to see them not ignoring the other models in the market, calling out R1 directly. They did put a kind of cringe slide in the presentation, though. They said 2.0 is 24 times higher intelligence per dollar than anyone in the market. But the speaker immediately says, than GPT 4.0. 24x higher intelligence per dollar than 4.0 makes a lot of sense. But notice they're citing 2.0 Flash, not 2.5. It's almost like they know 2.5's not a great value. I kind of want to do a whole breakdown on why 2.5 Flash is disappointing to me. It's still better than 2.0, but it's not great. 2.5 Pro is an incredible model, but 2.5 Flash was not as impressive as I was hoping. What made this slide much funnier, though, is that the speaker immediately follows up and says, and 5 times higher intelligence per dollar than DeepSeek R1. So they said it's 24 times higher than anyone in the market, but it's only 5 times higher than a competitor in the market that they literally just listed. So mixed messaging. My guess is that they honestly struggled to put these slides together. They were done last minute by somebody who doesn't quite know. The source is an open platform for evaluating LLMs by human preference in March. Not a great thing to reference, I would argue. That said, I did enjoy what this guy had to talk about. One of the announcements that he came out for was the crazy TPU improvements that they're making. For those who don't already know, one of the most impressive things about Google's AI stuff, obviously, like they control data, they control the training, they have the APIs, but they also make the chips themselves. Google makes their own TPUs, their tensor processing units. Think of it kind of like a GPU. The goal of the TPUs is to do inference and AI stuff really, really efficiently. And Google's the only company that does all of these things, where they do the TPUs that they run the inference on, they have the data they need to train, they have the scientists to create the models, and the API services and user-facing stuff to consume the models. They kind of have a really unique synergy there that no other company comes close to. The only one that might be able to is Apple, and they are not succeeding at it at all right now. The big announcement they had around their TPUs was Ironwood, which is 42.5 exaflops. Kind of insane amounts of compute, like truly absurd. The world's most powerful supercomputer as of November last year was 1.742 exaflops. And they're out here claiming 42.5. That's pretty absurd. I am sure there are a lot of catches to that number, but it is still exciting to see. The more I look into the Ironwood numbers, the more terrifying it is. Like, this is an edge that not many are going to be able to beat. It can do 7.4 terabytes per second of HBM bandwidth. The fuck? That actually means they could do crazy things like training on it very efficiently. They called out significant improvements for cost, which is really cool too, because it uses so much less electricity per compute. It's nearly 30 times more power efficient than their first attempt to do this in 2018. The perf per watt is 2 times higher, so they might actually be able to make the APIs even cheaper. I'm sincerely doubting they'll ever make something cheaper than 2.0 Flash, but 2.5 Pro gets pricey once you start using those bigger context windows, so it'll be nice to see if they take advantage of these chips to lower the price on a lot of these things. I mean, they have to. They really do. The pricing for this stuff's getting absurd. They need to take advantage of this. But the crazy thing to remember with Ironwood is that no one else has this benefit. If NVIDIA makes some improvements to their GPUs, all AI gets faster. If Google makes improvement to their TPUs, only Gemini gets faster and cheaper. It's a huge competitive advantage they have that will allow them to do things none of the other model providers can do, and it's a big part of why their LLMs are so fast. Who knows how fast 2.0 Flash would run if you were running it on your own hardware? We can't know. We can only know what Google tells us and what Google gives us, and what they're running their stuff on is insanely powerful. A couple more improvements to Gemini before we get to everything else. They had a native audio output to Gemini, which is kind of nuts to have one model that can do all these different things. And the quality of the audio was really solid from what I heard. One of the demos was doing the Android XR thing with the glasses, and their connection was bad, so it choked up a bunch then. But for the most part, it was quite impressive. It's not a thing I care that much about. Something I do care about, though, is computer use, which they're also starting to take very seriously. They want your phone to be able to look up and do anything on any website, and Google is one of the few companies that can actually automate all that. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there. My favorite thing about all of these recent announcements, though, thought summaries. Holy hell, I can't believe this took so long. If you're not aware, when you use a thinking model, it thinks to itself, which means that it plans what it's going to answer, checks its work, and talks back and forth before coming up with the answer. If I talk to DeepSeek R1, the distilled version, but same difference, ask, are black holes real? It's doing reasoning. And if we look in here, you see all the things it's saying to itself as it decides how to answer this question. And then once it's done reasoning, we get the actual answer underneath. Before R1 came out, there weren't very many thinking models. The big one was O1 from OpenAI. And OpenAI would show you a little bit of what the model was thinking about on the website, but it wouldn't show you the full reasoning data. And more importantly, it wouldn't give it to you over the API at all. So if you tried to generate something with O3 or O1 or any of these models, you would just get back this part once the thinking was done and nothing else. This kind of sucks for a lot of reasons, but the biggest one is the user experience. If I'm trying to build something with this API, the user just sees a loading spinner until the reasoning's done. And if I can't even tell them that's what's going on or show them what it's doing during that step, it sucks. OpenAI kind of set the standard for obfuscating your reasoning data and not letting people get it because theoretically they could train on it and use it to make their own similarly good models. OpenAI absolutely took a step too far with that. From what I have heard, they kind of regret it. But R1 came out and just gave you the full reasoning data. It's an open weight model, so you can just use it and test it and do whatever you want with that data. Because OpenAI kind of set the standard here, Google followed it. And Google's thinking models have not given us thinking data, unless you're a special snowflake known as Cursor. Believe it or not, when you use Gemini 2.5 Pro in Cursor, you're getting access to a special API that others don't have access to because they can think fully. So I'm going to give it a task to take this pattern I have for this hook and make it reusable. And you'll see as soon as it starts, you get this planning data where it's thinking about what it's going to do. Up until recently, only Cursor had access. I know they let a couple testing groups in at some point, which was cool. I didn't get in. And now, finally, they're exposing this to everybody. They are walking back their course correction. They're only a month and a half late from OpenAI doing it. Kind of funny that OpenAI, the notoriously closed company, beat Google to sharing data that neither of them get anything from restricting. But now, if I was to go re-roll this with the new Gemini 2.5 Pro or Flash versions, you will see when I do 2.5 Flash, we now get reasoning data. Crazy. Who would have thought? Also, if you didn't notice, we have a fun new feature on the T3 chat beta where when you click retry or fork, you can quick switch between any of the different models you want to test out quickly. It's been super fun, and I don't know how I ever lived without that feature. It's super nice. By the way, T3H is only $8 a month. You get access to all of the models you'd ever want to use. We just added bring your own key if you want to do that. You have a ton of awesome features. The free tier is super generous too. And if you want a month for free, you can use the code FREETHINKING to get 1 month free. After the first 500 people do it, I'm probably going to knock it down to be a 50% off. So you get 50% off. I'm sorry, you were just late. And don't cancel and resub, by the way. It doesn't work that way. If you do, it just hurts our numbers and you won't be able to use the code and everyone will be sad. So anyways, thank you, Google, for finally giving me the reasoning data. I've been bugging y'all about it forever. Logan's been very patient with me with my harassment, and it's good to finally have this. We got to do one last Gemini thing. I forgot that the diffusion model is technically Gemini. Gemini diffusion is really cool. Performance of 2.0 flashlight at 5 times the speed. That's insane because 2.0 flashlight was already pretty absurd. If we go to artificial analysis, which is the best site for checking all of these things. Okay, now looking at the numbers, Google seems to be reporting higher tokens per second for 2.5 flash reasoning. But remember, they don't give the full reasoning data, so it might be generating a lot of reasoning tokens and then summarizing it to a much smaller number. So 2.5 flash reasoning doesn't feel faster than flashlight. Flashlight is pretty absurd, like I've not seen from almost anything else before. With all the reasoning models, be hesitant to trust the token per second number because they might just think a lot. If they spit out a ton of thinking data and then don't give it to you, it's not actually going that fast. The fastest non-thinking core model from a big provider by far is 2.0 flashlight. So going 5 times faster than it is nuts. How nuts? Write 10 poems about JavaScript. I'm pressing enter now. It's done. That's insane. That's actually absurd. How are the poems, though? Processors where scripts ignite, a language wakes with logic bright. With HTML and CSS, it takes its stand, making pages live across the land. From simple clicks to functions grand, it's fine, but it's fast. And there's a lot of things this is actually quite cool for. So if I don't know, let's hand it some code. Let's tell a smarter model like 2.5 Flash Thinking, solve advent of code 2021 day 3 in Rust. It's thinking, coming up with the pieces, finalizing the algorithm. And here we have some Rust code. So I'm going to grab this Rust code. I'm going to paste it in here and say, translate this code to be JavaScript. It should work with bun and read the input from an input.txt file. Pasting. Some real nice formatting there. But it did it like immediately. That's kind of nuts that in under 3 seconds, a full answer was done there. I'm curious if this works though, so let's go give it a shot. So I gave it code that 2.5 Flash generated in Rust and told it to translate it to JavaScript. And despite being a dumb model, it got it working totally fine first try. Let's give it one of the problems that's harder. It's also worth noting I'm not copy pasting the problem. It just knows what the problem is because it's trained on enough data that it includes the entire history of Advent of Code. That also means that it's probably trained on answers to Advent of Code. So it's not like solving a hard problem in the traditional sense where you give it the hard problem and it comes up with a solution, but it's still impressive that I can spit out working code. Cool. Now I have it solving day 10, which was, if I recall, a slightly harder one. Tell it to use input.text instead. Make it TypeScript. Why not, you know? Now it's TypeScript. Let's go make this new file. There we go. Paste. Grab my input from that day. Oh God, I do remember this one. This one destroyed me. 1661 for part 1. There we are, 166191. Part 2, 152088313. Yep, cool. That's pretty nuts. I am impressed. The fact that it can generate things instantaneously like that is cool. I also just realized we haven't really talked about what diffusion models are in the context of text. It's funny because images were the thing that diffusion was originally used for. To TLDR it, you effectively are turning noise into something that is a real output. Denoising algorithms have existed forever now, and they've improved a ton over time. We've been able to take a photo that's blurry or grainy or noisy and slowly remove the noise using computers for quite a while. And diffusion's kind of the same thing with extra steps and extra intelligence. You hand a piece of technology an image with a bunch of random pixels and you tell it, this is a picture of a cat. Make it look more like a cat. And you do that over and over again. And every time it does a pass, it rearranges things and changes things slightly until eventually the thing that you want comes out. Diffusion is really popular for image generation, as you can predict by seeing this, because it is able to create things like pixel mappings really well. It's not great for text generation because turning a bunch of random characters into the text you actually want just doesn't make any sense. At least that's what we thought. The way these text diffusion models work is they generate a bunch of random characters and then tell an autocorrect algorithm, correct any mistakes that are here. And they do it over and over again until you get a result. The instant edit feature is probably what's going to show this off the best. Let's take this TypeScript code and say, port this to Rust. Now port it to Python. And you see it just go through and adjust all of the pieces as it does. There's a lot of things that change, obviously going from Rust to Python, entirely different worlds, but you can also see how much it didn't. Diffusion's really powerful for that, for taking some text and turning it into other text, taking an image that's noise and denoising it and making it something else. And it's cool to see diffusion used in this way. Historically, text diffusion hasn't been particularly smart because it's hard to beat the power of the next token prediction that traditional LLMs give you, where it's using all of the tokens in the past as well as all of the info for however much data they trained on to guess the most likely next token. This is not built that way. It's not that smart. There's a reason it's in a really early experiment that you have to apply to get early access to, but it's very promising and I'm excited to see where it goes longer term. And it's still kind of absurd that it is as fast as it is. Like literally 1,000 tokens per second. That's nuts. Enough Gemini. We have to talk about Flow. Flow is very interesting. You can use it to generate awesome videos like this one of this corgi writing code. I'm joking. This video was done using the LTX video model on FalAI. I also tested out something a little closer to state of the art on FalAI. I used the Kling V2 model, and this one did pretty well, all things considered. Still looks a little like bad CGI, more so than like a video you'd want to use for something. It does the camera pan really well, which was impressive. The light, not super realistic. No idea what's going on there with the paper and the thing behind it. But not too bad, especially when you consider that this cost about $1.40. Actually, that's kind of expensive for what we got. But if we look at Flow, you'll see a cutesy little corgi video. It used the same prompt for all of them. They just chose to make it animated for this one. And it's fine. Not great, not terrible. This tab was from before I upgraded to the new Ultra plan. You get 1,000 credits by default when you're paying for a normal Google subscription. And those 1,000 credits can be used for all sorts of things. I thought this was going to use the latest Google model for video when I went and tested it. It's not. This one actually only could use VO2. You had to upgrade for VO3, which is the model they announced today that also includes audio generation. Generating this only took 20 of the 1,000 credits on the standard Pro tier, but it's also the older model, nowhere near as high quality. That's why I had to rerun this, subscribe to the $250 a month tier. Reminder, T3 is only $8. But $250 a month, which is kind of worth it for the 30 terabytes of storage that I'm probably not going to use because I'm on Dropbox now. But you also get access to all of the latest Google models, including the highest quality option, which is VO3. So if I take this prompt and paste it in here, I'm also going to start a timer because it's going to take a bit. I won't make y'all wait with me, but I'm going to have to. And I want to let you know how long it actually takes. I had it in ingredient mode. I forgot. I was doing a test earlier because I wanted to upload 2 images and have it like do something with them. You can only generate images. They don't support image upload yet. Yeah. Text to video. Corgi sitting at a desk, writing code, starting now. We'll come back in a minute. I did this test earlier before I started filming. One of them passed. One of them failed. I just saw the fail notification now. If I refresh, will it appear? No, but oh wait, it did. What? Building good UX is hard, Google. I understand. Harder for you than most. Let's see how they did. Oh, look at that. It makes clicking sounds. Okay, the first one they did, which I watched before, it just had random clicking sounds playing throughout. I'm going to mute my laptop because it's driving me mad. But he's not even touching the keyboard. Why is it making clicking sounds? It's doing that because it's generating audio as well as video, but it's generating the audio the way you generate most things with AI. Poorly. So it's not doing a great job with syncing the audio properly there. I'll try this one again. Nope, wrong one. UX is hard, I know. God, you'd think that of all... Okay, that clearly says it's paused, and it's clearly not. I know state management is hard, Google, but it's hard because of Chrome and the web standards that you help build. Fix your video players, guys. I did hear it make some sound when he put his nose on the keyboard. No, the sound is useless from that test at the very least. We're 1 minute and 40 seconds into this gen, and we're at 67%, not even. And make sure you stay on the page because they don't do resilient streams. I hate to keep plugging T3 chat, but I'm really proud that we pulled this off. I'm going to rerun this, the same model. It's streaming. I just refreshed as it was streaming, and it's still streaming in token by token. The thinking doesn't come through as anything other than chunks, but the rest comes in the usual fast way you expect as of the beta, which hopefully will be live for everybody soon, but you just go to beta.t3.chat if you're not. Resilient streams are hard. I understand why most people don't have it working. Google should have it working. They really should have it working. Anyways, 99%. We're at 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Oh, they actually both came through that time. 2 minutes and 33 seconds. Good job, Google. Let's see how these came out. Unmute. All just random keyboard typing. This one actually looks really good. Doesn't do any of the weird things with other screens in the background and whatnot. I noticed that mistake on a lot of models, especially the cheaper and newer video models. They love to put code all over them once given the prompt. I take that same prompt. I thought it OpenAI, Sora. I am also on the OpenAI super expensive plan, so we can test out Sora really quick. Tell it to do the same thing. Corgi dev sitting in a desk in a dark room, writing code. It threw it in the queue. It's doing 4 videos at once. That's got to be a fancy thing it's doing because I'm paying for that high tier. I should have started a timer. Add 10 seconds to this. All of them are slow. Kling took over 5 minutes to generate this. It was not fast. I still can't get over the chubby armed Corgi here. This is OG Will Smith eating spaghetti type shit. While we wait for these to generate, we should take a quick look at Android XR. I am a huge VR nerd for those who don't already know. It's just something I've been nerdy about for a while. I find it really fun. I used to take Beat Saber way too seriously. What's exciting about Android XR is that they fit it into classes. We'll talk about those in just a sec because our generation finished. Why is that in videos if it's not a video, OpenAI? Why did you generate 4 images? Because I didn't do the right thing there. So, okay, so it took 1.5 minutes to generate images. Great. We'll retry that. I know the Vision Pro is not the most beloved thing in the world. I love it dearly. I don't use it as much as I probably should, but the first time I put a window in front of me and then walked away, turned around and saw it was in the exact place I left it, this whole XR thing clicked for me. It is truly magical, and the UX of using it. It felt like the iPhone moment, going from a BlackBerry to an iPhone for the first time. And Google seems to finally be leaning into this idea of like floating windows in space. The problem is with the new glasses they showed off, there's just a tiny little space in the middle of the lens where it can play things back, and it doesn't persist in the world. So as you look around, like if I look from here to here and I'm looking at this thing, when I move, it moves with me. With the Vision Pro, if I put the thing here and I move, it stays where it was, which seems like a small thing, but entirely changes how these devices interface with the world around you. I don't think Google's anywhere near that capability just yet. But the idea of stuffing this tech into something that looks a lot more like the Meta Ray-Ban glasses is actually quite exciting. I desperately need to see this happen in order for the thing I love with VR and AR stuff to become reality. So fingers crossed this will do well, but the demos I saw were not super promising, and it kind of bombed on stage because of the weird connection issues. So we'll see where it goes. I generally am skeptical of VR and AR stuff because every time I get excited, I get disappointed after. Still generating the videos. I accidentally reset the timer about a minute in, so we're like 3-ish minutes of waiting for this. I do want to play with more of the flow stuff really quick. Let's give it a shot. The scene builder is the fun new feature where you can link up different scenes and create a full video. Corgi in school learning how to code. Can I add new parts while that's going? No, I have to wait for that to finish before I can start generating the next scene. Annoying. Oh, Corgi Codemaster is ready. Took about 3.5 minutes. Actually, a bit more than that. Yeah, actually right around that. But 3.5 minutes to generate. And it came out okay. I wouldn't complain about this. Everything does the cringy camera pan. I don't know why everything insists on doing it, but they all do. Really realistic laptop right there. Quality. I love that when you press escape, it doesn't leave the full screen view. It leaves this like set of things entirely. UX is hard. But so is rendering a correctly shaped screen, apparently. God damn. So does that mean that the VO model is the only video model that can reliably render a screen for a computer? I think so. There's like the laptop in the back that appears to be fully anatomically correct. Yeah, honestly, this does not look far from my desk. So yeah, Google wins in the video department, even if the weird audio stuff it does is trash. Interesting. We still have to measure the most important metric at any given Google I/O. Normally, I and the community would do this ourselves, but Google actually beat us to it this year.
So let's take a look at one last leaderboard. Looks like, I guess we have a new entrant. Gemini takes the lead, coming in at 95.
That's all I got. Thank you, Google, for ruining yet another day off. Until next time, keep prompting.